You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
Indeedly. And you better be ready, my friends. Truth on Tap. You damn Skippy. Well, who's paying now? If karma's a bitch, well, I bet his dad's an asshole. This is my friend that stayed in a haunted hotel. Turns out that even during a government shutdown, ghosts linger anyway. Yeah, there's no paranormal furlough. They keep roaming. That's right. You're listening to Truth on Tap. Your host, Kevin Kierstead. Today, we're going to get into it. It's the government shutdown looming in the United States. Somebody's trying to play a song that I'd rather not have played just right now. Thank you kindly. All right. Now, getting back to business. For those of you that have been following the news, you may be confused. Okay, I'm in a position where I have a chance with the type of work that I do to pay more attention to the news than the average 40 or 50 hour per week working person, okay? I'm taking that into account as I tell you these things. So I'm going to give you just a little bit of an overview on what's really going on here. The biggest thing, we're going to go big picture, and we're going to go, put some things under a microscope. We got to get real about this stuff. What is happening that's bad right now, and when I say bad, I'm just talking about with people, not the government, is that we're getting debt ceiling confused with government shutdown, okay? They're not even related. The only relationship they have is that they're close in proximity in this case. One may happen in late October, and one is almost certainly going to happen in early October. Okay, so they're different things, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. First of all, if you want to call into the show, let me give you the number. It's 910-NO-LYING. That's right, that's not a joke. It's no lying. 910-665-9464. You can get into the text chat by going to the show, going to Spreaker.com/user/truth-on-tap, just like it sounds. And you'll see that one show of the ones you see is live broadcasting. Go ahead and click on the name of that show, and it'll take you to that show's page. On that page, down at the lower right, you can jump in on the chat. There's a little chat icon down in the lower right by the heart icon. And that way you can get in there. And I will air your views on the air just as I would if you called in. If you're going to call in, you may have to call a couple of times because I use Google Voice in order to do these taking the calls on the radio. And for some reason, it doesn't like the first one or two calls it gets during a broadcast. I haven't figured that out yet. It's probably something I'm doing wrong. But we'll eventually figure that out. I'm feeling pretty good today. I'm coming into this with some energy, and I probably shouldn't be. I could take the calm approach. I mean, this has happened 17 or 18 times in the last 40 years. What's the big deal? But I've got my hat on. I've got my Outback hat on. I have my paracord survival bracelets on. Not only my solar-powered watch with the paracord band with the built-in whistle, but two other bracelets with the built-in whistle. One of them with fishing gear in it, and the other one with just a lot of paracord. So the truth is, I could rappel out the fifth story of a burning building, and that makes me feel good about life. Yeah, it does. I feel good. Also got my knife with me, but all that doesn't matter. I have my headphones on, and I've got my hat on. That makes me incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous. I'm like a knife blade under a very weak rope bridge, and you're walking over the rope bridge. Yeah, I got the hat on. I don't know what to tell you, man. Just be careful. Be careful. That's the best advice I can give you. I shouldn't be too emotional about this, but you know why? You know why I'm putting my heart into this one? Because it represents a broader truth and several broader problems. The truth and the problems are not related. The truth is fine. The problems are not. We're going to go into all of it. We're going to get into all of it. I leave no stone unturned. May be a bit of a nutty professor, may head off on some tangents, but I usually return to the main path of the topic. We do not use notes here on Truth on Tap. We do not use outlines here. I only use notes on my Caps on Tap show because I have to have, certain hockey players' names and stuff written down. But on the Truth on Tap show, no. We keep it purely authentic, straight off, the top of my head, straight from the heart. I figure if you don't have notes on your call-ins, I shouldn't have notes as a host, right? Let's keep it real. And keep it real is what we do here. We're going to get into the differences between the debt ceiling increase or lack thereof and a government shutdown and why it might happen. I'm going to lose some friends today. I say that once in a while because I live in a pretty conservative area. I would say that 75% of the people in my town, based on voting results that I saw not too long ago, lean to the right, are either center-right or right. And then there's the 25% that are either center or center-left or left. And I'm in the center. And so the ones I'm going to piss off today are probably going to be the ones on the right. That doesn't mean that the left's not at fault. Don't think I'm blaming the right for this, okay? But I'm going to tell you some things that are going to make you think probably, okay, given all of our options, the right is making the wrong choice here by far. And it's because there's some things you probably don't know. Based on what news you may have seen, you might be thinking, hey, go ahead, Republicans, shut this bitch down. Oh, by the way, this is a cussing show. If you're listening at work, don't turn it down. Just go punch your boss in the chin and he'll be knocked out. And then you can crank this bitch. You don't have to worry about cussing. It is a cussing show. Keep the kids away. Keep the bosses away. Or fuck it. Let it run. Like I know my nosy bitch neighbor's listening right now. I don't give a shit. She's just going to have to listen to it. Good. That's life. And so here we go. Like I said, I want to explain the difference to you between a government shutdown and a debt ceiling increase or lack thereof. You might say, Kevin, if we've had 17 government shutdowns since 1977, why should we be so worried about this? After all, using my math, that's about, well, it's not perfect math, but it's about every 2 years we have a shutdown on average. That's not really a fair average, even though it's an accurate one, because if you look, many of your shutdowns, you might have 3 or 4 in 1 year, and then nothing for 10 years. So you got to kind of, I'm going to quickly go down the dates of the government shutdowns since 1976. There have been 17. So bear with me here. September 30th to October 11th, 1976, 10-day shutdown. I'm not going to read all this. Screw it. I'm just going to read the year. 76, 77, 77, 77, 78, 79, 81, 82, 82, 83. Each one of these is a shutdown. 84, 84, 86, 87, 90, 95, 96. You with me? Kind of an erratic pattern there. Does a shutdown hurt? Hell yes. The one that shut down in 1995 cost us about $1.1 billion. This one is estimated to cost us well over twice that. It's going to hurt. It shakes the confidence in the people. It shakes the confidence in the markets. And being the most powerful economy in the world, well, there's a trickle-down effect. Keep in mind that we are a machine here in America that is not just operated by Americans. We have all kinds of little millipede legs all over the world. And when those legs start getting shaky, things can start falling apart, okay? They really can. So this stupid little game we like to play about the right and the left, who's going to win the showdown, is going to make us fall because our legs are going to go out from under us if we keep fucking around, okay? But here is a truth I told you I was going to explain earlier. And I cannot find a problem with this truth. It's just a truth. What you're seeing in the government is actually what it's supposed to be. We are so evenly divided in this country. We are so split right down the damn middle that so is the government. Remember? They represent the people. Remember? So we're electing them. So it appears we've elected a pretty even split because those that voted were pretty evenly split. Well, there's what you're seeing. You're seeing a representation. You're seeing the rock'em sock'em robots in the ring, but the people operating the rock'em sock'em robots are you and me when we pulled the levers. That's us, okay? We created this battle. We didn't mean to, but that's what we created because we're split. Now, what do we have to do to resolve something like this? Here's my first idea, and this has been my idea for years. Every president on any side, from any party, left, right, green, independent, fucking Tea Party, whatever you are, refuse to negotiate near times of budget passing and debt ceiling required increases. Okay? Refuse to negotiate then, because negotiations then necessarily shake faith around the world, not just in the country. And you're saying, well, Kevin, wait a minute. We've got a chance to make something happen here. These people on the right. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You can hold America and the world hostage and get something you want if you play your cards right. However, you're shooting yourself in the face with a birdshot shotgun because you don't like a mole. Do you understand that? That's what's happening here. Stand back for a second and look at the big picture. You don't like this president, or you don't like Obamacare, or you don't like people on the left. And I could do a bunch more and/ors, okay? But those are the top three, wouldn't you say? You either hate him because he's a black guy. You hate him because you think he's a prick. You hate him because you think he's on the left and you don't like the left in general, or some combination of those. Or you hate Obamacare, and maybe you don't hate the president so much. You just hate that health care plan. It feels like socialized medicine to you, whatever. Well, which is sort of what it is, but it's staying privatized. Whatever the reason, just stop for a second and think about this. Nothing that happens today, no matter what phone calls get made or what papers get signed, not even which bombs get launched, if something crazy should happen, will stop Obamacare. It rolls in tomorrow. Go ahead, shut the government down. It still takes effect. Don't shut the government down. It still takes effect. Nothing can stop Obamacare in its current state, okay? Now, the states have a lot of control over how they implement Obamacare, and we're not getting into that discussion today. Go read up on Obamacare, and you'll see that it's not such a scary thing. If you don't like it, you can do things to change it and to change your cost. You understand? You can do things. Instead of just hating it, see what you can do for you. And then you'll see, well, wait a minute. If I was going to pay $328 a month for Obamacare, and I was only paying $311 with my old plan, but if I can get a voucher for $114 a month because I have 2 kids, I'm winning, aren't I? I'm getting actually higher quality care because now they have to cover pre-existing conditions, among many other things. Okay, now I'm not saying that's a typical case. I'm just saying that if you look into it and find that you can save some money, assume that others can too. And then maybe it doesn't look so bad to you. If it does look bad, if you think it's the worst idea in the history of the world, there are many ways to fight against Obamacare. You can fight it, and you can fight it hard. This is the wrong way. This is not going to change Obamacare at all if you shut the government down, all right? The Tea Party is controlling this fight. They are the ones pouring gasoline under the Republican Party, and it's going to accomplish nothing. If this government shuts down, the Tea Party will have a little badge that they'll hand out to everybody on the right, and they'll put the little badge on their shoulder and say, look what we did. We are some badasses. We shut it down. Okay, now walk outside of your building. Walk up to the first house you come to and talk to the people inside and ask how they feel about it. I guarantee you that they're going to say, fuck you. Why did you shut the government down? That's what they're going to say. Nobody wants this to happen. And this is not a time to dangle a deal. We must get into law that no deal dangling should happen around 2 times in a year. And that is the fiscal start of the year when the budget is approved and the raising of the debt ceiling when that has to happen to pay our bills that we've already spent money. to incur. Okay? Now, you're saying, well, Kevin, if the Republicans want to change this Obamacare thing or some other thing, if they want to get something from Obama, when are they supposed to deal with them if they don't do it then? Well, a lot of you already know the answer to that. There's a lot of ways they can do that. I'm going to point you to a site. It's called theweek.com. I do not know its propensity to lean left or right, but it's got some good information on it. It's theweek.com, just like it sounds, W-E-E-K, not W-E-A-K. And the rest of the address is pretty long, but basically it's titled How Republicans Should Have Dealt with Obamacare. Now, there are three ways that Republicans could have dealt with Obamacare. One, do nothing. Let Obamacare go. Let it grow. If you're so sure that it's going to be a disaster, let it be a disaster. Because what's going to happen? Republicans will take over Congress in 2014, in 2016, 2018. I mean, everybody's going to be so mad that Obamacare was a mass failure. Republicans are going to do well for a decade, right? Do nothing. Number two, take charge of the exchanges. As you know, this Obamacare thing is a state-run thing that is administered, not handled, but administered, meaning rolled out by from a federal level. But it is a state-managed thing. Now, if you're a Republican and you hate it, you're going to say, I'll have nothing to do with it, and you're going to cross your arms and you're going to stomp your feet. And that's what 97% of Republicans did. However, a few of them decided, here they're listing Nevada Governor Brian Sandoval, New Mexico Governor Susana Martinez, and Idaho Governor Butch Otter. They decided they were going to take control of it. By God, if it's law and it's going to be in my state, I'm going to handle it. And they did. And they know about it now. They've got it under control. They're making it work for them, you know. And they may still decide to fight it, but they're making it work for them right now, for their people. And that's the way to act. That's the mature way to act. Keep your fight up if you want to beat it. Keep fighting against it. But for God's sakes, don't make your people suffer while you wait just to make a president look bad. Is that what you want to do? Because that's what you're doing. You're making people across this country suffer just to make a president look bad. Is that really worth it to you? That's what's happening in Congress. We will do anything to make this president look bad. Anything. There is no way we're letting him get out of office with success connected to him. It's not going to happen. We will shoot ourselves in the face. In fact, we have. And we'll do it again and again and again. Regardless of who I voted for or what my beliefs are, I have to tell you that I'll be a happier person when Obama gets out of office. Because I didn't know how many people in my country would hate him. And I mean hate in the worst case of the word. I didn't know. I was surprised by that in 2008 when he first got elected. It has grown worse, not better. Okay, you think with time, people say, oh, they'll get used to a president that's different. They have not. Their hatred has grown. This is killing us. Well, I guess we weren't ready for a black president. Is that it? Or is it just that there's been, with the rise of the Tea Party, some sort of hardcore push against the left? Whatever's happening, it makes me feel like with Obama in office, this country will be in turmoil because too many people hate him. There are so many things I could say right now about my political beliefs that don't matter to this argument. And speaking my heart sometimes does not help the argument. So I try to be careful there because I don't want to waste your time. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'll slip one in, but I'm not trying to, because all I'm saying is that I think right now, once Obama's out of office, assuming we do not have a woman or another black person or minority in the presidential seat, this country will be more peaceful. Why? We're not ready for it. I was wrong. In 2008, I thought this country might be ready for something like that. Regardless of who I voted for, I thought maybe this country's ready for something like this. I was wrong. Won't be the last time I'm wrong. We were not ready for this. We were not mature enough for this. We are not past racism enough for this. Whatever is going on, if you say, well, race is getting blown up, it's not such a big deal, race, maybe 10% on the right are racist, but the 90% that are hating this are hating the left because it's the left. Okay, Okay, maybe that's it. I could be wrong about the whole black thing. All right, so let's say it's just the left. Well, what caused the tidal wave? What caused the tidal wave? The left hasn't changed in 50 years. So something's going on. I mean, the push was against the right after Iraq, remember? So, I have a hard time with that, yet I'll embrace the possibility that that's going on. Because it doesn't really matter who's in office if the push is against the left, does it? We might as well have a black female in. So there you get your sexist and your racist angry, because we're still majority white America, and with a heavier male voting base. So get a black woman in there. There you go. That'll piss everybody off, right? That'll piss the most amount of Americans off. Yeah, get Condi to run or something. What is it, folks? I mean, are we being honest? Are you going out there and saying I hate the left when you really hate the black guy? Are you? I mean, be honest. Be honest with yourself at least. Maybe you don't want to tell me. Well, be honest with yourself. If you're sitting there going, I hate niggers, that's all there is to it. I don't want a nigger in my White House. But you're going out in public saying, I think the left is really just misled, and they're very irresponsible physically, and they need lessons in military management and national defense. That's not real. You're not being real. And I don't like people that are not being real. I don't dislike the person. I just dislike their behavior. There's only two types of people I dislike, and that's bullies and assholes. And anybody can be asshole for a day. I'm talking about people who live to be assholes. You know the difference, and you know what a bully is. Everybody else, you can disagree with every word I've said today. Call in here. You'll get mad respect. I will set you up to look good. You probably don't need it. You can make yourself look good. But the whole point is, I'm not going to lash out at you just because you disagree with me. I believe these discussions need to be had. I'm one of a very few people who's going to keep it raw, because raw is where the truth is. So you can listen to your sugar-coated, reporters from other stations trying to bring it to you. I'm bringing you that shit from the animal level, because I see it from the animal level. I get it. And we need answers. There's really no question about that. I think I just had a call. As I said, you're going to have to call in a few times because Google will not, it tends to ignore the first few calls like, oh, okay, I've woken up now. So I'll be waiting on your call back there. The number's 910-665-9464. That's 910-NO-LYING. That's right. Talking about shutting down the government today. Don't forget what you're listening to.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kiersten.
Yeah, isn't that neat? And my voiceover done by Mr. Wes Johnson. He is the Capitals arena announcer. I love the guy to death. He's just very exciting. But this isn't the show to talk too much about him. I give him props in my Caps on Tap shows. But what I am going to do is, since I'm not a professional yet, I'm working on it, my vocal cords always take a beating. Believe it or not, I'm not much of a talker, and I don't like the sound of my voice. So the very fact that I'm doing a radio show is kind of I don't know. It's just what would you call it? I don't know. It's just an impossibility, but it's happening. So I don't know. There's a word for that, and I can't think of it right now. I know you're probably yelling it at me right now, but I don't have my chat open, so let me go ahead and open that so that when people do come in, they're ready for them. We're going to continue very shortly with this discussion on the government shutdown and some of the causes thereof. I want you to call in to get on the chat. As a male, as a typical male, I'm not much of a multitasker. Okay, I've got the chat open now. Blue Raven. All right. Hey, okay, this is Kevin. And are you listening? And you can stay anonymous if you like. Just speak your mind, speak from your heart, tell me the truth, give me the animal version. I don't want the coded version. because that's the real thing. That's the thing. That's where we get progress, because progress comes from understanding. And when you're getting prepackaged information from people that are just loaded with preservatives and artificial flavorings, you're not getting something real. So keep it in mind. Come on over to the chat. You can go to Spreaker.com/user/truthOnTap. Get in on the chat. I am going to give my weak vocal cords a break by playing a couple of songs for you. One will be by Bad Ace, a local band, an excellent local band. I have a friend in that band who is the drummer, and I like to play their music on here. I think it's a good way to promote, your local artist, and they are a fantastic band. That drummer, Todd, happens to own a business. So if you're in the Northern Neck area here in Virginia, anywhere around here, from Virginia Beach up to Richmond, get in touch with Western Shore Inc., Heating and Cooling. They'll handle that whole deal for you, and they'll do it fairly. I've known Todd for about 6,000 years, and everybody loves him. He's that kind of guy, yeah. So I'm going to throw on the one I want to play today, because it's just so freaking appropriate, is Reality Check. And then I'm going to have that fade into one of these others. I like to go over to ccmixter.org and download kind of random songs. I don't know. It's like surprise me, it has that feel to it sometimes. All right. So with this song, I don't even know the genre here. The song that's going to play after Reality Check by Bad Ace is going to be called, Morgan TJ Cafe Connection. Okay. It's just a few minutes long. Where'd you go? There you are. And let me drop you on deck B. That'll fade automatically. All right, so you got about 8 minutes of music coming up. Take a break, get you some coffee. We'll get into this. We'll keep the show going as long as you want to. If you're a little shy, you don't want to get in on the chat, you don't want to call in, you can go over to the Facebook page and just leave a comment there, or even send me a private message if you like. You can do that by going to facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. Don't forget the show. An easy way to remember it is TOTS. Truth on Tap Show. Facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. 910-NO-LYING is the phone number. And then again, you can go and get in on the chat. Go to Spreaker.com/user/TruthOnTap. Chat icon down in the lower right by the heart icon. Okay? Currently in there, I see Blue Raven, and you'll see me in there. And there will be some other people popping in, I'm sure. And we're going to get it started here. This is Reality Check by Bad Ace.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
When I first saw you, I was just 16. Then you became my high school dream. I didn't tell anyone my feelings for you. I kept them balled up inside. I didn't realize, no, you felt it too. My friend told me you were interested, and my heart dropped to the floor, because you didn't know just how I felt. I kept it hidden so well. You didn't realize, no, I felt it too. I didn't know that I could feel this way, leaving on such a rainy day. I didn't know a feeling of this kind feels so good inside. Feeling this way. she called later on, sitting lonely by the telephone. We talked a little while, yeah, and I made you laugh. And then on the next day, I walked to the class. We didn't realize, no, we felt this way. My high school dream had finally come true. We were together as one. Only to find it would be short-lived, no. Because of some things that I had done. We didn't realize she knew so well. We didn't realize that she would tell. We didn't realize, no, it wasn't meant to be. I didn't know that I could feel this way. And even on such a sunny day, I didn't know a feeling of this kind. Feels so bad inside. Feeling this way. Ran across your picture, baby, just the other day. Imagine conversation, you knew just what to say. I held you in my arms and never let you go. And I realized I love you evermore. I didn't realize, I felt so strong for you. I didn't know that I could feel this way. And even on such a cloudy day, I didn't know a feeling of this kind. Feels so good inside. Feeling this way.
Venu de la verrerie, toujours la vérité, et se marbre seul dans ses lignes biscuitées. Par terre, étendue, la girouette coule de girofle. Il se coquérise son sacré patapon. Venu de la verrerie, toujours la vérité, et se marbre seul dans ses lignes biscuitées. Par terre, étendue, la girouette coule de girofle. Il se sacré patapouf. Venu de la verrerie, il dit toujours la vérité et se marbre seul dans ses...
En ce moment, mon téléphone sonne tous les matins pour dire des trucs plus ou moins abscons.
Il se coquérise, ce sacré patapouf. Venu de la verrerie, il dit toujours la vérité et se marbre seul dans ses lignes biscuitées. Par terre, étendu, la girouette coule de girofle.
Viendrait me donner des nouvelles. Gentil et très intelligent.
Seul dans ses...
Des journalistes. Des journalistes gentils et très intelligents.
Il se coquérise, ce sacré patapouf. Toujours la vérité et se
Journalistes
marbre.
gentils et très intelligents. Viendrait.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
Yeah. I had heard that song before. Excuse me, I'm still getting over a cold. Feeling a little better now. Took my Dayquil. Took my Motrin for my mashed potatoes back. My spine looks like a Rubik's Cube that's been run over and then put in a blender. And then microwaved, baked, and then thrown at someone you don't like twice. Yeah, one of those. Anyway, I had heard that song before, and I dug it, because I know a little bit of French. I studied a couple years in high school, didn't do well there. Went to college, realized I was paying for my own schooling, and actually started putting some study time in. And I've forgotten a lot of it, but I love hearing it. It's just such a sexy language, I mean, French it's smooth. It's like the opposite of Arabic or German. Those people cough at you, and how rude is that? I don't like it. I don't like it at all. We've got a goalie on the Capitals who is he's actually Russian, but he's of Germanic descent, and his name's Grubauer. And why do they got to yell everything? And the Japanese do that too. Stop yelling everything at us. I don't like your language if you have to yell it at me. Be smooth. Vous parlez français. That's quite nice. I like that. Yeah. J'ai besoin d'aide aujourd'hui, maintenant. Comment ça va? Ça va bien? Oui? No? All right, whatever. I still remember a few words. That's about it. Yeah. What's that I hear? Oh, it's a motor. I almost thought I heard the alarm warning for like a tornado, and I was like, oh gosh, this whole government shutdown thing really has started something. I was joking about starting a damn civil war earlier with this show. Yeah, I'm reading some comments now. You'll hear me kick in and out sometimes when I'm focusing on some words that are written, and that's the best I can offer you, because I'm not a pro at this. I've been broadcasting on an internet radio show here, which is quickly picking up listeners, which I'm happy to report. You must be bored to be listening to me, and nonetheless, I'm quite thankful for it. But I've been doing this for about a month, 5 weeks tops. I started over at Blog Talk Radio, and I liked it because they had a very simple call-in procedure. You could call in, several people could call in at once, no problems. However, the quality of the audio was horrific. I mean, AM radio in the woods sounds better than what you're going to get on Blog Talk Radio. Now, you can use their Direct Connect feature, or you can even go through Skype, which is notoriously not dependable, and get smoother audio. Not my thing. So I come over to Spreaker, who runs at twice the bit rate as them, even though I've had to reduce it because I only have DSL and I insist on going over wireless and not plugging directly into the router. So but it still sounds really good compared to Blog Talk Radio, both music and talk. So there is that. And we're going to keep going on the topic of the government shutdown, the difference between a government shutdown and a debt ceiling increase, why it matters, why what's going on today matters, even though it's happened 17 times in the past 40 years, and what we should be doing about it. Okay? And I'd like to hear your views. What's your view? Who do you think's at fault? I'm going to tell you who the polls say is at fault, but the polls aren't you. Has anyone called you and asked you? I bet you a buffalo nickel they haven't. Well, I'm calling you and asking you right now. You call me and tell me who's at fault. Who's causing this? It's going to cost us over $2 billion. Do you know what $2 billion could do for people hurting in this country? Holy cow. Wow. Oh, well. America must fight her fights. Let's get back into it. I've got some reference pages. People do not give any credibility to the Wikipedia pages. They say, oh, it's not monitored for accuracy. Anybody or their mother can go write facts, quote unquote. I hope you don't hear that, because they just threw a commercial in my face, and I don't like when sites do that. USA Today, you just made it onto a list of mine that most news organizations do not want to be on. So don't be throwing ads up in my face when I don't want them. Don't like that at all. It's going to try it again here. I'm trying to pause it so I can read to you. Excuse me. Oh my God. I really need this article or else. That's it, but I'm letting USA Today know I'm done with you. I'll read your results on the net, but I won't come to your site to read them. I don't like ads forcing audio on me. There is an article on USA Today, which I believe is quite applicable to today's situation. And the article is called 66 Questions and Answers About the Government Shutdown. Now, what's good about this is that it stays non-biased. It's just given the facts. It's not saying they're at fault. It's not saying because the Republicans failed to do this or because the Democrats insisted on doing that. It's just telling you the facts about it. What it's going to cause, what it means, how many times it's happened, all that good stuff. I'm not going to go down 66 of these with you, but I'm going to go down across a few of them because they're important to understanding what's happening here. This is not the last time you're going to see a government shutdown, unless we can get our shit together. And wouldn't that be nice? Number one on there, and it's important, what causes a shutdown? Under the Constitution, and I'm quoting, Congress must pass laws to spend money if Congress can't agree on a spending bill, or if, in the case of the Clinton-era shutdowns, the president vetoes it, and that happened with other presidents as well, like Ford, the government does not have the legal authority to spend money. Okay? They can't. They're not allowed. In fact, it's a felony. If someone tries to spend money, like a state says, we're going to ignore the shutdown, yeah, felony. So what happens? They pass these CRs. You may have heard the CR, continuing resolution, and that's a kick the can down the road technique, just to say, all right, let's not fuck it all up. Let's go ahead and just say things can stay as they are for a little while, but the weight is still coming down. We've simply put some wings on it so it comes down a little slower. And let me go ahead and explain what that is, just in the formal sense, not what I just said. What is a continuing resolution? Congress used to spend money by passing a budget first, then 12 separate appropriations bills. That process has broken down, and Congress uses a stopgap continuing resolution, or CR, that maintains spending at current levels for all or part of the year. Okay? Why Congress can't agree, that's an important one. The Republican-controlled House has passed a spending bill that maintains spending levels but does not provide funding to implement the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. The Democratic Senate insists that the program be fully funded and that Congress pass what they call a clean CR, or continuing resolution. What is a clean CR? A continuing resolution without policy changes. That's all. As I've told you, I believe every president in the future, regardless of regardless of party or policy, should refuse negotiations. Let this be an unwritten rule, or even a written rule. It really should be law. You know how the United States doesn't negotiate with terrorists? Well, that's kind of the way this should be. And I'm not comparing the two in any other way except to say we can't mess around with this. We need to make it firm. There will be no negotiations around items that affect the entire world, that affect our global economy, that affect veterans, that affect people that are in the military, active duty, their spouses, the elderly, the sick, the poor. Everyone. We can't gamble on this stuff. This stuff needs to be guaranteed. There is a confidence factor here that is under attack so that politicians can play gamble games. Not cool. It is not cool. And we need to say no negotiations around these two issues, the debt ceiling and the fiscal budget passing. No negotiations around them. Do other forms of negotiation. And there are plenty of ways to do it, as I went over before. I don't think I read you the third one when I was reading you how Republicans should have handled fighting Obamacare. And this was just one opinion, of course, from theweek.com. But it does give them a few options that they could have done. And some they still could do to fight it. You can get Obamacare waivers. I don't know if people even knew about this, but if any state has an alternative plan that will expand health care coverage and cuts the federal budget deficit at least as much as Obamacare would, they don't have to use Obamacare. In other words, if a governor has a better idea than Obamacare, they can get a waiver and prove it. It's all done with numbers. It's not opinion. If you can do it with numbers and prove it, you're done. You don't have to do Obamacare. So, yeah, this is how you fight it. You don't shut down the government. You don't do that. You don't cause militaries not to get paid and their families to suddenly be penniless for some period of time, and $2 billion in expenditures and huge amounts of wasted time going through the shutdown process and then the reopening process. The man hours probably get into the billions of wasted time. Yeah, stupid. Just to prove a point, you know. We gotta get past this, folks. If you feel strongly and you're on the right about Obamacare and you think, well, this is going to get them, you're wrong. Obamacare goes into effect anyway. It continues tomorrow morning, just as if nothing had ever happened. Doesn't matter what happens today. Does not matter what happens today. Obamacare is happening anyway. There are ways to fight it. This will not affect it. Shutting down the government will not affect Obamacare at all. So what you're doing is you're going to shoot the United States public in the head because you don't like a mole on their face. That's the perfect analogy. That's what's going on here. This is not the time. Not for this. This is not the time. There's a lot of ways you can fight this. If you hate it, do not shut our government down. But it's going to shut down anyway. So I get a very strong feeling. Who's going to be to blame? You want to hear who's going to be to blame? I want to hear who you think is to blame. And you can come do that in chat, or you can call in 910-NO-LYING. Come to the show at Spreaker.com/user/truth-on-tap. You'll see a live show there. And get in on that, and then you can get in on the chat in the lower right by the heart icon. There's a little ellipses and a speech bubble. Get you into the chat there. Who's going to be to blame? Well, I think you probably already know this if you've been watching any of the news. But right now, about, I guess about 60% of Americans are going to blame Republicans for what they're calling acting like spoiled children. And somewhere around 38% are blaming Obama and his administration for acting like spoiled children. I think what we're seeing here, what's happening is the people that are saying it's the Republicans' fault, not all of them are hating on Republicans. Some of them, myself included, are saying this is not a time to gamble. This is not a time to wheel and deal. It's just not. It's not a time to wheel and deal. It's a bad time to gamble. You don't gamble on people's livelihoods. If you do that over an extended period of time through a series of discussions and votes, you don't wait till it comes up to the budget and say, we're not going to pass the budget unless you give us what we want. That goes for Democrats, Republicans, or anybody else. Don't do that to the American people. Don't do that to the global economy. How selfish is that? That is incredibly selfish. Oh, it's just ridiculously selfish and stupid. You know, most people in our government have a pretty good formal education. You can look at their records, and they know this stuff. So what are they doing? They're going for more power. They believe that this is the political equivalent of a Western standoff in the middle of the street. Who's going to draw their gun faster? Who's going to shoot more accurately? And it's stupid. It's just stupid. The end result is going to hurt Americans. Guaranteed. Been proven 100 times over. 20 of those times in the last 40 years. So let's see. Let's go ahead and find out. I'm going to pull up a couple of these polls. I didn't have those up. All right, now, well, there's a CNN poll, and a lot of people think CNN is a little left, but this was also a poll conducted by another organization, which I think is more, think work or something, which is more center line. Anyway, and we'll look at some other polls. Like I'll go look at one from Fox News so we can get the balance. The CNN poll questioned, I think, a couple thousand people. And what did they say? 6 in 10 questioned in the survey say they want Congress to approve a budget agreement to avoid a government shutdown. So 60% want the government not to shut down. Most people say a shutdown would be a bad thing. Yeah, it will. It will. It's kind of not up for argument. Let me see. They're not giving me poll numbers. They're giving me all kinds. Okay, some 68% say a shutdown for a few days would be a bad thing for the country, with the number rising to nearly 80% for a shutdown lasting a few weeks. 58% say congressional Democrats now are acting like spoiled children, with that number rising to 69% for GOP in the Congress. So 58% say Democrats are spoiled children, 69% say GOP is acting like spoiled children. And I'm reading down, they got a bunch more numbers here. Some of them I don't think you'll be interested in. If you are, you certainly can go read it. Just who's driving the strategy? 40 to 50 of the most conservative members of the House and 4 or 5 of the most conservative members of the Senate, says CNN chief national correspondent John King. 56% of Tea Party supporters say it's a good thing to shut down the government. These are the folks those most conservative members of Congress are listening to. This is what I told you earlier. These are the folks pouring the gasoline under the right in Congress. Those lawmakers think back home they're on safe ground, even though nationally shutting down the government is a non-starter. Well, non-starter is not even getting close to characterizing how bad this is, how stupid it is. It would be different if, let me tell you a situation in which shutting down the government would be good in this case, okay? Just so you can do a compare and contrast. So let's say that the United States, through whatever reason, the way we evolved, did not develop a discussion open process on the floor of the Senate or the House and couldn't do votes, and instead had to balance their wants and needs of their constituents on approving a budget or raising a debt ceiling, something of that nature. Yes, shut it down if you can't come to an agreement before then, because it's one of your only 2 chances during the year to get what you want done. Shut it down. And that's going to force people to come together and make an agreement. All right? But if you're doing it now, yes, you're going to force people to come together and make an agreement, but it's not going to get you what you want, number one. And number two, it is guaranteed to hurt not only the American public and hurt them bad, but it's going to hurt the global economy. And if you think that's bad, if we play this stupid ass game with raising the debt ceiling, we are going to give the world's economy a swift kick in the nuts. And it may not be one we can recover from. You're playing with fire here when you start gambling on these big items. What you do when you want change is you get your constituent support, you take those up into laws, bring them to the House, bring them to the Senate, vote on them, and get them approved. That's how a democracy, or a republic if you insist, is supposed to work. Okay? But that's not how we're doing it, is it? Either that or we're so evenly divided that we're just button heads, just constantly button heads. And I'll say, shame on the media. They sure are selling commercials, aren't they? The ones on the extreme left and extreme right that get off on the fights, they really are helping to divide America. And I'm going to name names. You can look at some of the polls on who thinks what media format or company is less biased than another. You see at the top of those lists pretty consistently BBC, Reuters, NPR. I'll tell you, Fox and MSNBC are like the heavyweight kings of left and right. Okay? They love the division. They sell commercials on the division. True anger is boiled in the studios there, and that passes down to the people that follow those shows, okay? If you want to get a really good idea of what they're doing, you may hate one or the other, but I encourage you, just watch an hour or two of each network. You can do it critically. I'm just asking you to be mature. I'm not saying you have to believe what they say, but just compare the two. Compare the two. Somewhere in there, if you're really lucky, you'll find some truth by comparing the two. You'll find some center stuff where one is exaggerating this too much and one is exaggerating that too much, and they begin to cancel out and come back toward a center position. But center positions do not get Americans fighting each other. And if they can't get Americans fighting each other, then they can't sell commercials because people aren't glued to the TV. Everybody loves a fight, don't they? Don't they? What barbaric animals we are. And I'll tell you, I'll be the first to tell you that we're animals. That's all we are. We're animals with thumbs and a pretty good communication system. That's it. If you don't think you're an animal, go get robbed. If you don't think you're an animal, let somebody punch your kid in the face. Let a group of people rape you, whether you're a man or a woman, and then tell me you're not an animal. Tell me how you behave. You're going to be civilized? You're an animal. The civilization is a learned behavior, and it is practiced. That's all. It's practiced when possible. I like to get into the psychology behind these things. I'm a student of psych, and I probably will be one for the rest of my life. I've always been interested in the human mind, mostly in the learning process, in the chemical process that is involved in making short-term, medium-term, long-term memories, and putting together complex sets of ideas for learning, and how that can lead to original thinking. I've always been kind of fascinated by that, and I am far from understanding it. So had I followed that path in college, I would have ended up working with white rats in some kind of maze or something, whatever. But I chose not to, and I even dropped the psych part of my double major and just stuck with English with a writing concentration. Funny, considering that I've worked in the electronics field since I left high school. So I think I was going for a rounded education. I got all the experience on the technical side, a lot of the classic education on the other side, the liberal arts to back it up. I like where I am in my education. And what I like mostly about it is not what I know. It's that I'm smart enough now to realize there's so much I don't know. Socrates said, only one thing that I know, that is that I know nothing. That's the mark of a smart person, guys, when you're willing to say, I don't really understand it all. And for that reason, I must stay pretty open-minded. I encourage you not to hold knowledge in your brain like you would hold water in a cup. Here's how I hold knowledge. I look at information as if it were water instead of being in a cup, flowing under a microscope, giving it careful study, and leaving a working impression in my brain. Let knowledge go so knowledge can flow. Have a good working impression because facts can change. And if you close your mind on any one area, then you're necessarily not open to new facts. And that means you're not going to be as correct or accurate as you could be in your beliefs. Very important. Einstein said something like, and I have such a hard time finding this. I read this quote once. He compared how you learn to a crossroads. And he said something like, you must keep the traffic flowing at the crossroads, because if the cars stop, then your education stops. In other words, don't close your mind on any subject. Leave it open. You can have a basic belief system, but you can't say this is it and that's that. If you do that, you're shutting down. You're not open to new information, and that's not going to make you as smart as you could be, okay? Being open-minded just simply means you're willing to discuss things and possibly let good, solid evidence change your view on something. Even if you're now, I'm not talking about matters of faith. I don't mess with matters of faith. If you're religious, I say if you're religious, put all your faith into your religion. Don't be a half-ass, you know. I'll die today to support your freedom of religion. If you're an American, I sure will. I don't care if it's Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. I will take up arms today, just like I did when I joined the Air Force, and I will die to protect your freedom of religion, because I kind of dig our Constitution. America is, was, and always will be the child of an idea. And that idea comes from a need for freedom and a need to not be controlled by one's own government, but instead vice versa. I dig it. I really dig it. And I think we need to change it as little as possible. I'm not a strict constitutionalist. I understand the world changes at a fast pace, but we need to keep the core principles protected at the very basic level. And watch for those small changes that lead to big changes, and amendments can do that. You got to watch it. You know, I dig the Constitution. And the Constitution just happens to allow what's going on right now, doesn't it? Yeah. The government shutdown. I have to accept that. The bad with the good. You know, if you're going to reach in for the rose, you're going to hit a thorn on the way in, whatever. But this is a matter of choice. Make no mistake about that. This is a matter of choice. We are deciding to shoot ourselves in the head because we don't like a mole on our face. This is a choice. We are making the choice to hurt most Americans, to waste $2 billion or more of American taxpayer dollars, to waste probably millions of man-hours of labor in the shutdown and reopening process of the government. Waste. It cannot affect Obamacare. You can't win that battle with this action. And you're necessarily hurting Americans and others around the world. When this thing comes out, when the government shuts down tonight at midnight, and the people responsible are pointed out, and people like you and me have our best understanding of what really happened, Republicans, it will have turned out, will have basically committed political suicide, because they will not be forgiven in 2014 or 2016 or 2018. They won't be. I'm sorry. That's the way it's going to work. I'm sorry. It doesn't have to be that way, but it's going to end up that way, I'm afraid. I don't favor one party or the other. I favor good ideas. I find good ideas from all parties. I tend to stereotype people on the left and people on the right, yet there are groups within that. You know, it's been my experience that people on the left tend to be more academically, more educated on the academia side of things, not street smarts necessarily. But then you get sections, like you have the ghetto people on the left who don't know shit, you know, and then over on the right, you've got some real experts over there, you know, people deeply intelligent, like Newt Gingrich. I mean, that kind of intelligence. But you also have your, you know, people that live out in a log cabin on a mountaintop that don't know anything and just come out and say, fire them all, fuck it. That doesn't work. Fire them all, fuck it, it's not going to work. It's a little more complex than that. Josephus, Bocephus, whatever your name is, and put a shirt on under them fucking bib overalls because your hair is coming out your underarms. You know, we got to work together on this and do something. It's too late. I believe it's too late. The government will shut down tonight at midnight. I just want you to know what's going to happen. And you and I can figure out how to stop this from happening again. Because let me promise you this, and you may already know this, but the debt ceiling limit is far more important than this government shutdown. If we fuck around with that and get our credit reduced again, we're going to pay a very heavy price. Stock market could plunge. We are delicately climbing out of the recession that we were in. You know that and I know that. We could plunge nosedive first back into it. And why? because the Tea Party and far right want to say, see, President, we aren't letting you look good. We're going to make everything around you look bad while you're in office. That'll teach blank to run for president. Fill in the blank with whatever you think is accurate. It's just not good. It's not a good way to do things. The negotiations and the battles should happen in the media. Get the Republicans vocal right there on the floor, C-SPAN, I don't care, against the Democrats. See what makes sense. Get your constituents to vote for it if you can get a vote for it, or at least in the House and the Senate, have those votes and pass the bills or pass the laws or not. You got to deal with workarounds. You got to deal with veto power and negotiations in that sense, but you can take time to do that. You don't wait until a huge deadline that can affect the entire country or world comes up and then hang something politically in the balance there that could affect trillions of dollars worth of lost revenue and billions of people. It's not good. It's bad stuff. It's really bad stuff. It's not the right way to do it, guys. So we need laws. We need laws against it. But in doing that, if we're going to make those laws, we need to also make certain that all sides have the ability to meaningfully leverage their power of their constituency to get what they want. Okay, so if there's more Republicans than Democrats in a given area of Congress, they should have more leverage, and vice versa, because they're representing the people. And if they're representing the people, then that's the people. So majority wins. I mean, that's the way it's got to go. This is not the way to do it, though. You don't punish all of the people to hurt some of the people. It's just bad, bad policy. I think you know that. I think you know it deep down. You may even hate this president. You may despise him, but this isn't how to hurt him. It's really gonna backfire on you if you're leaning to the right. Now, I know a lot of people that are independents, and a lot of them are libertarian, and they can't stand Obama either. I don't know what to say about that. I sometimes wonder why. I don't think it's always color. What I do when I look for a president is I look for three things. And you may have already heard me say this before. I look for someone who is deeply intelligent, number one. Number two, someone who is patriotic. And number three, someone who cares about and can connect with the people. Okay? So you got to believe in your country, the idea of it. You got to believe in and care about the people. And you got to be intelligent. Have those three things and you're in my book. We all have our reasons for voting the way we do. I believe John McCain has all three of those things. I believe Barack Obama has all three of those things. I do not believe Mitt Romney had all three of those things. So when I see people hating on him, I kind of question why, because what I do is I go into the internet and I read from various sources, what has this president accomplished and where has he failed? I also want to know, of the campaign promises he's made, how many has he kept? And for the ones he hasn't kept, why? Is there some sort of uncontrollable, unforeseen force working against him, or did he just mislead the people? And I keep pretty close tabs on that. Now, Obama has a weakness on this second term of the promises that he made versus the promises that he's kept. And there's actually websites that keep track of promises made versus promises kept and reasons. You can look that up yourself. I see that weakness, and it's not impressive to me. But you also get to look at what he has accomplished. Now, if you hate him, you're not going to look at that. You don't want to see that. You don't want to see good things about Obama, right? If you hate him, you're going to go listen to Neil Bortz or Fox News. You don't want to read good things about what he did. Hell no. That's the way it works. I mean, isn't that a sad thing? Let's at least call that a reality. When we've decided that we hate some politician or some party, we refuse to learn things about them that may be true that might give them credibility or credit, don't we? We don't want to hear it. We've already decided we hate them. It's an emotional thing. We certainly don't want reasons to like them, do we? No, because that would not fit our ideal. Isn't that a terrible weakness humans have? I think it is. I think it is. I'm going to stick to my guns on that one. So what is it? Is it a black guy in office? Is it the left wanting too much? Is it the right getting too conservative? What's going on here? Did 9/11 change our thinking and make us more animalistic? Did the two wars break us so bad financially that we can't stand it? Have the American people decided that they're damn sick and tired of the way Congress handles its business, or does not handle its business, as it turns out? Or is it some combination of those things? I can't answer that. It's hard. It's complex. It's an intricate weave of problems that has to be continually discussed as we're rolling this carpet of understanding out. Because if people like me are not here talking about it, and people like you are not listening and talking about it, we're not going to solve anything. We really need to talk about this. We need to fix this. Would you say it's broken right now, regardless of which side you're on? I'll bet you a buffalo nickel you'd say it's broken. And you can blame who you want, but you got to agree it's broken. It is broken. If you're on the right, would you say, hey, here's how we could fix it. Let's get 100 Republican senators and a Republican president with a Republican cabinet, and, screw it. Let's make the whole Congress Republican. Would that fix it? Would that please you? No? If you're on the left, would the exact opposite please you? Is that what you want? All on the left? All Democratic? Imagine that for a minute. Imagine what you'd get there. And then you might better be able to sense the importance of balance in our country. I think somebody just pulled into my driveway. Look, I have all kinds of crazy cameras up so I can look. People like to pull in and turn around here. And yes, there is somebody here. Huh. Oh, okay, they're turning around. All right, whatever. All right, you're back to the show. Let me remind you of what you're wasting your time on right now.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
Yeah, and we're talking about it, aren't we? We're gonna work on this because we have to. We can't let this sit there. I have some pretty strong beliefs on Syria. I believe we should have been in there right when it broke out, because people, whenever you have a government attacking its citizens, that's cause for major alarm. Because if you don't do anything, a precedent is set. Think about that for a second. A precedent is set. You're now saying, world, governments, attack your people if you need to. Keep control. Go ahead. Go get Machiavelli's The Prince, read that, and then attack your people as necessary. Gang rape 10-year-olds, chop people's arms off for being the wrong religion. It's okay. It's okay. That's what we're doing. Through lack of action, we set a precedent. Because we can't attack the next ones that do that. Because they're going to say, well, you didn't do anything to Syria. You see how that works? No, it's a pattern type of deal there. It's a cumulative effect. Let me go see who it is in chat here talking. They may be asking a question. I don't know. No, don't have anything there yet. You can call in 910 no lying. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. I won't let you look bad. Won't let you look bad. We got to get this conversation going, and we can disagree, and we can be civil about it. And one of the things I've noticed with people that call into radio shows is this extreme kind of emotion. And it's weird because what will happen is after they've spent about 10 or 15 minutes on the air, they calm down. You don't have to come in guns a-blazing. Let's just talk. I don't know what that is. I don't know what causes that. It's almost like they fear they won't get enough time, and they have to pack their entire life emotion into 5 minutes of conversation on the radio. I'll give you 30 minutes. I'll give you the mic. Call in. 910 no lying. 910-665-9464 is the number. Call in, talk about it. Let's figure out what's going on. As we talk about this government shutdown, I cannot, in good faith, let us forget about the looming crisis of using the debt ceiling as a negotiation table. Bad idea. Very, very bad idea. Remember, it was only the threat of not raising the debt limit that caused us to get a reduced credit rating for the first time ever. And I have personal feelings about that. I can see that the extreme right would be saying, see that? Got a nigger in the White House and get a credit because they don't pay their bills. And that bothers me a lot. Now, I'm not saying all Republicans are like that. Come on. But you know there are some. It doesn't matter what side you're on. You know they're there. And you know they loved that. You know they loved the symbolism of a black man being in office and the credit rating getting reduced. Oh, they just loved it. That bothers me that they got joy out of that. Does that not bother you? Does that bother you at all? Tell me what bothers you. Tell me what gets under your skin. See, I don't like racists from any race. I think that you can dislike people for certain reasons, certain ideologies, but you can't count their color into it. It's also okay to group people. I can say that most blacks can dance better than whites. Wouldn't I be correct? I can say that whites are more likely to finish high school than blacks. Would that not be statistically correct? You can talk about groups and your standard bell curve with standard deviations. It's okay. It's okay to do that. But you can't apply a stereotype across a broad, entire spectrum of people and expect it to be accurate. You just have to be realistic about it. All right? I'm a guy who believes in racial profiling. Sure do. I believe it's one of the smartest things you can do in law enforcement. Israel uses it, and they've never had a plane hijacked. So think about that. Let's use an example. This is one I like to use. Let's say you live in a small town. Let's say you live in a town of 25,000 people. All right. Over the past year, 15 people have come up missing. All of them were young males, and all of them had a last name that started with the letter M, as in Mary. What kind of image is popping into your head when you think about your suspect? You're getting a white male, 30 to 40 years old, aren't you? Yeah, because statistics say that's where you ought to look first. Don't let political correctness, which is bullshit, get in the way and say, well, we can't go looking at white males just because they're the most likely to have done this. We have to look at everybody equally. No, you don't. Start looking at white males. Get a jump that way. Could it be a black person? Absolutely. There have been black serial killers. But the statistics say that's most likely not the case. So why the hell are you wasting effort and money and time, critical time, to be politically correct? That's silliness. Use racial profiling and crime solving. If you're using it to badger one race or another, I hope that you choke on a giant potato. Yeah, definitely. I'd like to see it. Because I have no tolerance for badgering somebody because of their race. It's one of the most immature things you can do. And if you're doing it as an authority figure, oh, I got a serious problem with you. Sure do. I'm not real sure how I can tie that into this show, but I can. People that abuse their authority need to be strapped to a rocket and sent into the depths of Syria. Let them live there for a while. It's a trusted position, whatever your authority is. It could be a CEO. It could be a police officer. It could be a military member, could be a lot of things. But if you're trusted in a position of power and you abuse that power, or if you wield it around, throwing your weight around in every which way you can just to remind people who the boss is, fuck off. All right? Don't let me catch you doing it, because I'll get you on video. I'll get it on the internet to the world. And if you come on my property trying to mess with me and you don't have a search warrant, I'll put a foot up your ass. I don't mess with bullies, and I can't stand people who abuse their power. The only people I hate worse than that are hypocrites, especially religious hypocrites. Don't come preaching a religion to me if you can't even live by that religion's commandments. If you can, if you're that living saint, you automatically have my respect, and I will listen to your religious spiel. However, I'm agnostic, and I'm going to stay agnostic, probably. As I told you, I keep an open mind. I will be the first to admit that agnosticism may be incorrect. I may be walking down a false path. That's entirely possible. But it's what I choose, based on what I've learned. That's all. That's my choice right now. As far as shutting down the government goes, we're going to talk more about the debt ceiling. I've got a couple things to read you here. We've talked about the ways that the Republicans should have dealt with Obamacare as opposed to this way. And there are many more ways with which we could easily relate, I think, toward a solution type of discussion rather than a punishment type of discussion. And there's way too much punishment going on in lieu of solutions in Washington right now. The GOP is definitely going to take a hit for this. That's too bad, because what they could have done is not only helped themselves, but also helped the American public by not stomping on this funding for the next fiscal year, you know. And that's just too bad. There's going to be some other things here. Now I want to read you some more of the 66 questions, because they tend to get more outside of ideology. Sorry, I think I had my mic too close to my mouth there. And into the facts. Some of these aren't that important. You know, you'd think, well, what do I care about that? So I won't even read you those if I don't think you care about them, even though we really should care about all of them. Here's one. When was the longest shutdown in history? The longest was also the most recent, from December 16th, 1995 through January 5th, 1996. 21 days total. Let's see. The debt limit. Here we go. Now, this is where we're getting, and I've already read this. I just forgot all the subtopics. What's the difference between a shutdown and a debt crisis? And when they say debt crisis, they're talking about a failure to raise the debt ceiling. In a shutdown, the government lacks the legal authority to spend money on non-essential services. In a debt crisis, the government is mandated to spend money, but it doesn't have the legal authority to borrow the money to spend it. Okay? The banks close, essentially, is the way to think of that. Are the two related? No, only in timing, as I told you before. The government will run out of borrowing authority, could come as soon as October 17th. Has the U.S. ever defaulted on its debt before? No, we never have. If the nation does hit the debt limit and the ceiling is not increased, will the government shut down? That's a big unknown question right now. The Treasury Department has said that most likely the scenario would be that it would delay payments, paying only those bills it can afford, using daily tax revenue. Okay, now, government services, that'll keep going. Will I still get my mail? Yes, private organization. Can I get a passport? Maybe, but hurry. Can I visit national parks? No. Campers in the national parks getting kicked out. Will Washington museums be open? Not the free ones. And these are long paragraphs, but I've already read them, so I'm just hitting on the highlights. What about the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts? It'll keep going. Private fund. What about the National Archives? It's down. District of Columbia, will it shut down? It certainly can. Trash collection and everything else can stop. Patent and Trademark Office, will they be open? Yes. Would food safety inspections continue? Mostly. The government still release economic data? Probably. Would the government continue to enforce wage and hour laws? The laws will be in effect, but the Department of Labor's Wage and Hour Division would suspend operations. Will disaster response be affected? No. However, all non-disaster grants, such as state and local preparedness programs, would be postponed. Would E-Verify be affected? Yes. The government system to allow companies to voluntarily check the legal work status of its employees would be shut down. Government benefits. Let's see. Would a shutdown put the brakes on implementing the Affordable Care Act or Obamacare? No, as I've told you. The state-run exchanges for the uninsured would open as scheduled Tuesday. The marketplaces will be open on Tuesday no matter what, even if there's a government shutdown. Why not? Like Social Security and Medicaid, Obamacare is a permanent entitlement that isn't subject to annual funding by Congress. Would seniors continue to get Social Security benefits? Yes. Can I apply for Social Security benefits? Yes. Can I get newer replacement Social Security card? No. Would the government continue to pay unemployment benefits? Yes, but would run out. Will I be able to get food stamps? Yes. What about WIC? Probably not. WIC will probably shut down. Federal school lunch program. Schools are reimbursed in this case, so yes, you'd probably be okay on the federal lunch program, but in the following month, if this should last longer than 30 days, we might run into some problems with the federal school lunch program. Veterans, hey, here, this one's affected me directly. Will veterans receiving compensation for service or combat-related wounds and injuries, will they continue to get paid? The Department of Veterans Affairs said if the shutdown continues into late October, it will run out of money for compensation and pension checks to more than 3.6 million veterans who rely on the money to support themselves. I get a very tiny check for a blown knee that I blew out in basic training in the Air Force. I still stayed in for 4 years. And let me just say that my lifestyle, the way it currently is, it's absolutely critical that I get that very tiny check. Let's see, what else? Can I still get a federally backed loan? Maybe not. Does that mean I can't get an FAA mortgage? Not necessarily. Does that mean I can't get a VA mortgage? No. Will deceased veterans still be able to get burial benefit? Yes. Burial benefits, headstones, and death notices will still be available. I mean, thank God, thank God we reserve that in all cases. Would the IRS continue to collect taxes? You bet your ass. Government shutdown going to hurt them. Will my refund be delayed? Possibly. What about taxpayer assistance? Walk-in assistance centers and telephone hotlines would be shut down. I'm being audited by the IRS. Would shutdown affect me? Yes, the IRS will suspend all audit activities. I guess that could take some heat off you if you're in trouble. Employment. How many federal employees would be furloughed? The government has not given an official estimate. I think somebody said it's around 3.5 million. I can't remember. Well, here we go. Does anyone have a guess? David Cox, president of the American Federation of Government Employees, says he expects the number to be 800,000 to 1 million out of 2.1 million federal employees. Okay, I was a little high there. That's consistent with the USA Today analysis of 2011 shutdown contingency plans, which found that 59% of non-defense government employees would continue to work. Okay. Why do some federal employees continue to work during a shutdown? I'm not even reading that. You know why. Let's see. Who decides which employees? Nah, it's not that important. You can read about that. Does the president get paid during the shutdown? You bet your ass. Congress? You bet your ass. Yeah, they're not giving up their money. President's personal aides. The White House has 90 staffers who work in the residence. During a shutdown, 15 of them would stay on the job. So yeah, a bunch of them go on furlough too. Congress gets paid. 27th Amendment guarantees it. It says no law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened. Intended to prevent Congress from voting itself a raise, it also protects members from a pay cut. Congressional staff, the non-essential would be furloughed at a minimum. Active duty military be furloughed? No. Civilian defense workers be furloughed? About half of them. Active duty military be paid during a shutdown? If it lasts longer than a week, the Pentagon might not be able to process its payroll in time for the October 15th paychecks. That's bad stuff, man. This is really bad stuff. We've got to fix this. The long term. How much money would a shutdown save taxpayers? Most likely it wouldn't. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget says shutdowns cost money in terms of contingency planning, lost user fees, and back pay. A government estimate after the shutdown, 95-96 estimate has cost $1.4 billion, and as I told you, it's about twice that it'll cost this time. What effect would a shutdown have on the economy? Economists say even a short shutdown, 3 or 4 days, would begin to shave decimal points off economic growth. A sustained shutdown of 3 or 4 weeks would do significant economic damage, economist Mark Zandi told USA Today. What about the stock market? Well, the S&P fell 3.7% during the 95-96 shutdown, according to SP Capital IQ. Now, the stocks did quickly rebound after the shutdown was over, but consider in 95-96, we weren't just climbing out of a depression situation. Okay, we're on fragile ground right now. So it only takes a small punch to knock us down. Let's keep that in mind. So we're about to get a double whammy here in October, folks, and it's too late, really, to do anything about it. What we can start working on, if we want to take this even halfway seriously, is a way to avoid this in the future. Let it be guaranteed that we do all of our spending reforms and get our budget right away from these deadlines, and do not let these deadlines of raising the debt ceiling when necessary and of approving a budget, don't let these happen near those times. Work those agreements out during other times of the year. You know, we can do that as a nation, and we have to, because nobody's counting how important that confidence factor is. Do you want Americans walking around all the time unsure that the greatest nation in the world can even keep up with her bills, keep her commitments to her people? What a sad thing. What a sad thing. Is that the best we can do? I think we can do much better than that. Just got to put our minds together and work on it. If you want to continue this conversation, I don't have any calls yet, and I don't have anybody in the chat room right now. You can come on over to the Facebook page and continue the conversation. That is at facebook.com/truthontapshow. Let me know that you want to continue the conversation. We'll have another show later today on it, possibly. If not, I may do another show on something else. Just, I don't know, maybe we'll do humor to change the mood a little if possible. Anyway, let me remind you what you've been listening to.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
And then I'm going to lead out with two more songs. One of them is called This Is the Age of Cocaine, featuring Spec by Stellar Art Wars. And then we're going to... I know which one I want to play. We're going to do Bad Ace Matchbox. Yeah, they like that one. I like that one. You've been listening to Truth on Tap. Your host, Kevin Kierstead. Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad you listened to my show. I hope you got something out of it. Please do continue the discussion. Facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. And I'm out.
Stop smoking the weed, 'cause love and peace is over now, the message is greed. Forget about blues, now it's rhythm and bling. And Thatcher and Reagan are decidedly left-wing. Entertainment's bought up our souls, and it's turned our kids into racist trolls. Fuck us up and screw our lives. By themselves, some trophy wives. Pay-per-view for the Rolling Stones. Ambulance chasers and the payday loans. The old common sense is the new insane. 'Cause this is the age of cocaine. To MK Dons with the scary human-headed black swans, butterflies and covered up eyes, MI6, CIA and Mossad spies, pyramids and the Disney Club, the covers bands that play the pub, the age of terrible infants. I wonder if
I've got an answer to the question that you asked me some years ago. Do you ever think you're gonna find your freedom on a matchbox floor? I'm telling you now, it's been lonely, it's been cold. I've been selling, I've been sold, but they never did break my love. It's been a long, long ride. It was never so easy to be caught up in the rain with a pocket full of shame. No prescription for the pain, your connection's down again. Sooner or later your eyes go blind. You come back down for a friend to find, but they all left you behind. There ain't no profit for pride on the east side. No, 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 no. And the dogs that leave you for dead on the county line. And you hide all your dreams in a matchbox on the floor. No. And you're praying to God, the man don't know your door. And you walk another line, but you better take your time on it. The creeps are sure to lead you back to shadows where the thieves will steal your dreams. And the creatures will show you, then pretend they don't know you. And the stranger will stone you and politely condone you. Yeah, but ain't that life? There ain't no profit for pride on the east side. No, 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 no. And the dogs will leave you for dead on the county line. And you hide all your dreams in a matchbox on the floor. Oh no. And you pray to God to loaded 44. Now I've got an answer to the question that you asked me some years ago. If I could only get you up again from the matchbox.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kearsley.